Spring training is officially here, and Garrett Crochet has not yet been extended by the Boston Red Sox. I'll tell you why on today's Locked on Red Sox.
You are Locked on Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free, so you might as well tune in because Locked on is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Friday and happy Red Sox spring training game day. They do officially play their first game of spring training. If you want to call it a game, it's technically an exhibition against Northeastern. They do it every year to kick off the spring training slate, and it's mostly prospects that are going to be playing in this game. If you tune into yesterday's show, I previewed what the lineup is going to look like. And I am so excited to just have Red Sox baseball back. It really is a good indicator that we are closer to the warm weather and being outside than we might think we are, and just games at Fenway all the time. I just absolutely cannot wait, and especially for this upcoming season in particular, because the Red Sox really did make some impactful moves this offseason to put them hopefully back in contention. And one of those impactful moves that they made was trading for starting pitcher Garrett Crochet. And one of the biggest conversations that has gone on so far in his time in Boston is why hasn't he been extended yet? So I'm going to be touching on that on today's show, as well as talking about a few storylines to look out for as we go through this spring training schedule, and also talking about a minor league signing that the Red Sox did make yesterday. So when it comes to the Red Sox pitching rotation, there's no doubt about the fact that the Red Sox rotation needed to improve from last season. They were not terrible last year, but they definitely had their question marks, and they needed to get guys in there going into this season that they could feel confident in, that they feel will pitch effectively. And one of those pitchers that they acquired was pitcher Garrett Crochet, who showed a big potential last year with the White Sox, and obviously was on a team that was not winning anytime soon. So the White Sox said, you know what, we need to trade him. It's not good for him, and it doesn't make sense for us to keep him around when we're not contending right now. So they traded him to the Boston Red Sox, who gave up a pretty big sum of prospects for him. And there are a lot of Red Sox fans talking right now about why he has not been extended yet. Because for some people, they'll see this offseason, and particularly this trade in particular, as a fail if the Red Sox do not extend him, which I totally 100% do agree with. It would be a really bad look on the Red Sox organization if they are unable to extend him after what they gave up to get him in the first place. But why has he not been extended yet? From the Red Sox point of view, they have to see how he pitches first. They cannot cut it too close to him potentially hitting free agency in order to start having these conversations, kind of like they did with Xander Bogaerts, and they just waited too long to have conversations with him, and then as a result, he ended up walking. Not that I would have agreed to that Padres deal at all that they gave him, but if the Red Sox had conversations with Xander before he even hit free agency, I think they could have gotten a deal done that wasn't as big as what the Padres offered him. So the Red Sox definitely cannot wait too long when it comes to having these extension talks with Garrett Crochet, but you have to make sure that he can be durable and that he can stay healthy and pitch well first, because it's really risky to extend a guy before he even throws a single pitch on the mound for the Red Sox at Fenway. It's just a dangerous game to play. So from the Red Sox perspective, 100% they are interested in extending him. They wouldn't trade for a guy like that and give up what they gave up, some top-notch prospects in their system, for a guy that they don't see being a longer-term option in Boston. So 100% they would like to extend him. They just need to see how he pitches a little bit in Boston first before jumping right into an extension. And he kind of said a similar thing too when he was asked about it. The media asked him if he is interested in a long-term extension and even just the possibility of signing one in general. And he said, there's always pros and cons to everything. I think that the long-term security is definitely something attractive. As players, we like to look out for our family first. But with last year being my first taste of starting, part of me also wants to see what I could do with the full season of innings workload. Part of me wants to see what I could do in a full season before, I suppose, locking myself into a certain bracket of player. So that is essentially saying that basically he doesn't want to lock himself in right now. And that is a little bit not reassuring to hear if you're a Red Sox fan, because it basically sounds like he wants to see how he pitches in a full season. And if he pitches really well, he'd want to give himself other options, which is just not very good. And if I'm the Red Sox, I'm not allowing those thoughts to get any further, and I'm waiting to see how he pitches. If he's dominant in the first couple months, then go back to him and say, okay, we really want to keep you here long term, and offer him a number that he just cannot refuse. And the Red Sox showed that they're willing to get uncomfortable this offseason based on what they're paying Alex Bregman and what they gave up for Garrett Crochet. They showed that they are not afraid to get uncomfortable for players who are worth it. And Garrett Crochet, 100% to me, is a player who is worth it. So if I'm the Red Sox, I'm making sure that he doesn't even have the opportunity to think about going and exploring other options. And I'm offering him a number that he cannot refuse as long as he's pitching well early on in the season. He delivered a curveball at last year's trade deadline when, as a member of the White Sox, it was reported that he was not open to pitching into the postseason unless he first received a long-term extension, which obviously we knew the White Sox weren't going to the playoffs. But on the off chance that they miraculously made some comeback, he straight up was saying that he wouldn't pitch in the postseason without the extension. His reasoning for that was because he did not want to deviate from his workload plans and risk injury unless he was gaining security in the process, which I do understand. And then predictably, that prevented the White Sox from trading him until this offseason when they then sent him to the Red Sox. He's 25 years old and went on to notch 32 starts over the course of the season, compiling a 3.58 ERA and a 6.33 strikeout to walk ratio in the process. And he was also named to his first career All-Star game. He is correct in his larger assessment of the situation here, in that signing a long-term deal before reaching free agency is all about trade-offs, specifically that between earning certainty and opportunity, between his injury history and also thin track record as a starter. He'll need to continue to produce and stay healthy if he wants to maximize the offers that are coming his way down the road. So from his perspective, him wanting to stay open and see how he pitches in a full season could work in his favor if he shows that he's able to stay healthy and be really dominant. But on the flip side of that, if he still struggles with injury, it's going to be really hard for a team to justify wanting to sign him to a long-term deal. So he's slated to be a free agent after the 2026 season right now. So the Red Sox do have time to work out a deal with him. But it's definitely tough sitting here as a Red Sox fan and knowing that those talks haven't really gone anywhere yet, or if they're even have taken place, because from what it sounds like to me, from what I'm hearing around the Red Sox, is that they haven't really had those talks with him yet. And nobody should be surprised by that because of, again, the fact that they want to wait and see how well he pitches first. And he feels the same way, that he doesn't want to lock himself in right now. But he did at a previous point when he first got traded to Boston say that that would be a team that he would be interested in pitching for long term. So it's definitely not about not wanting to pitch in Boston. And he had talked about in his first press conference with the Boston Red Sox how he was really relieved to be here and be part of such a great organization that has an established culture in the 2000s of winning. And that was something that stood out to me, and how it was just a relief to him to get out of the situation that he was in Chicago with a team that was consistently losing. So for him, I don't blame him for wanting to see how he pitches in a full season first, because in his perspective, he's saying, okay, if I pitch really well, then the Red Sox could increase their number because they feel more confident in my abilities long term. I don't want to struggle early on in the season and then have the Red Sox say, we don't really want to highball you with our offer because we're not super confident in your performance. So there are a lot of moving parts that go into this. 100% the Red Sox would like to have an ideal situation in which they extend Garrett Crochet, but they also can't risk offering him this big contract for years to come right now when they haven't even seen him throw a single pitch in a Boston Red Sox uniform in an actual game yet. So we'll have to see how things go for him over the course of the spring and heading into the season. But I do promise you that as long as things go well for him and he's focused and he's pitching well, I have no doubt in my mind that the Red Sox will have extension talks with him down the road. Spring training is here, and coming up, I'm going to be talking about some big storylines to look out for as the Red Sox officially kick off their spring training games. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. FanDuel is a great way to win lots of money. So if you are looking to change your life in that regard, I 100% recommend you downloading the app and not wasting a single minute. Congratulations on making it to spring training. We are officially here, and Red Sox Twitter is super excited. I mean, I've seen so many people making posts from last year about their favorite Red Sox game that they attended. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, feel free to post a comment in the comment section with your favorite memories from Red Sox baseball last year in honor of the season starting up again. I would love to hear what you have to say. And I myself am also so excited. I will be going down to spring training next week, so I'll get a firsthand look at some of the Red Sox prospects and what the future looks like for this team. And speaking of prospects, there are definitely some key ones to look out for heading into this spring training season. And as we start games today, here are some of the biggest storylines to look out for the rest of spring training. The first one being, will Roman Anthony or Kristian Campbell make the opening day roster? For multiple years now, the Red Sox top prospects have drawn such a buzz, and obviously with good reason because their talent is through the roof. Outfielder Roman Anthony is #2 in MLB Pipeline's top 100, while Kristian Campbell, who's both an infielder and an outfielder, weighs in at #7, and shortstop Marcelo Meyer rounds out the impressive trio at #12. So these three players are something to look out for, and the hype surrounding them is something we have not seen surrounding Red Sox prospects in a long time. Campbell has the clearest path to make the team right now for a couple of reasons. The first one is that he wields a right-handed bat, and Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow has been trying to bring more balance to a lefty-heavy lineup for the last couple of years. He did help with that by acquiring Alex Bregman, and they are hoping that Trevor Story can stay healthy this year. But Campbell being able to provide a little bit more of that versatility too can also help the lineup. The second reason is because he plays second base as one of the many positions that he can play effectively, but that's the one that would make the most sense because it's kind of the most available position possibly right now that remains up for grabs. And the reason that we're unsure as to whether he might make the opening day roster is because of Alex Bregman now being here and the possibility of him playing second base. If you take Alex Bregman out of the equation and the Red Sox don't have him, I think there's no doubt in my mind that we could see Kristian Campbell on the opening day roster 100%. But because of the fact that they now have Bregman, if they decide to have him play second base, then the likelihood is decreasing of Campbell being on that roster come opening day. But it all depends on if they decide to have Bregman play second base or third base. And like I've talked about extensively on the show, Rafael Devers doesn't want to move off of third base. So that's a decision the Red Sox are going to have to make, is how confident are they in Kristian Campbell right now to the point where they could feel like they can throw him into that roster come opening day and be in the lineup. The other one is Roman Anthony. Will he make the opening day lineup for Boston? He's a left-handed hitter and has all of the tools to be an absolute star. He's motored his way through the Red Sox minor league system and has made such an impression. But the problem right now, which I've talked about pretty extensively too, is that the Red Sox are deep in the outfield with Jarren Duran, Cedar Rafaela, Willie Abreu, and also platoon player Rob Refsnyder, who kind of serves multiple purposes. That isn't to say that Roman can't win a job by having an excellent spring training season. A team can always find a spot for a potential young star, provided that he's ready to excel at the highest level. But the problem is just that would require some moving around. If he impresses throughout the course of the spring training slate and the Red Sox are saying, okay, he's ready, we want to give him a shot now, then they're going to have to probably trade one of their outfielders, which my guess would be Willie Abreu, somebody who I had talked about the Red Sox trading this offseason, and I feel like the main reason they didn't is because they weren't 100% sure if Roman Anthony was going to be ready yet. But if they see more of him and they feel like he is ready, then I could see them potentially pulling off that kind of trade and then making the room for Roman Anthony to be able to come up. But I'm still not seeing it come opening day. I could see the Red Sox giving him more time in AAA because they feel really confident in the outfield that they do have, which 100% is super talented right now. So I could see them saying, okay, let's give him some more time to develop at the AAA level. Marcelo Meyer is the most unlikely of the three to make the roster because he didn't get to play at AAA Worcester at all this past year following his promotion last August due to a lumbar strain that forced an early end to his season. While Meyer is a shortstop, which is clearly right now a position occupied by Trevor Story, manager Alex Cora did recently say that the 4th overall pick in the 2021 MLB draft will get some time at third base and second base to increase his versatility, which means that the Red Sox aren't 100% set on him playing shortstop when he comes up. My guess is that he will end up still playing shortstop, but who knows? I mean, when Trevor Story's contract is up, Marcelo Meyer likely will be in the majors by then, and maybe he's developed a serious skill set at another infield position, and he doesn't play shortstop. You never really know, and having him gain more exposure to playing other positions is never going to hurt. If anything, that's going to help him to gain more comfortability and be more of a threat in the infield because he's then getting used to playing in other positions. So I don't mind the idea of them moving him around a little bit and getting him reps in other spots. But I do feel like he's going to play the entirety of the season in AAA. But who knows? If he goes out there and he's healthy and he really, really impresses, the Red Sox could make room for him too on the roster sooner than we think. So that's the biggest storyline I'd say going into spring training right now is how do those guys look and do they have a realistic shot of making the roster come opening day? Who will perform last call? That is another thing that I've talked about here on the show is the closing position is still very much unclear right now. And we don't really know who that's going to be. Kenley Jansen did a fine job closing games for the Red Sox the past 2 seasons, but he is no longer with the team, and now they have guys that they have to decide from. They have Liam Hendriks and Aroldis Chapman, both of whom are pitchers with a lot of closing experience, but Hendricks hasn't pitched since 2023 due to his recovery from Tommy John surgery, but he is considered a full go right now and will receive every chance to win the closing spot come opening day. And then Chapman's just a fireballing lefty who was signed as a free agent in December, and he's been used primarily as a setup man in recent years. So it would worry me a little bit to have him go back to closing games when they've used him more not in the closing spot as of late, other teams, and he's gotten used to being in the setup role. But he did save 14 games for the Pirates last season. Somebody I mentioned that could be a possibility is Justin Slayton, who was a success story as a Rule 5 draft pick last season. He throws in the upper 90s and pitched in all kinds of pressurized situations in his rookie year. So he's definitely somebody who has earned the chance to pitch in high leverage again. And why not give him the opportunity to try to close games? So that could be another option, or maybe even Garrett Whitlock if he's healthy, because he has shown that he can pitch well in short stints. So if you give him the chance to close games, he could be a guy that surprises us and could be used in that ninth inning role. So I think the Red Sox are still trying to figure out who's going to close games because they don't really have that defined closer right now. And their most recent acquisition, Adam Ottavino, who is on a minor league deal right now but could break camp, I don't really see him closing games. He hasn't really ever been used that way. But the Red Sox will have to figure that out. Maybe they go into the season without a defined closer and they kind of just try different people in that role and see how it works out for them. But that's definitely a big thing to look out for as we head into these spring training games. And also, which young guys will take the leap this year, because this is a team that's very young and there are lots of guys that we are hoping to see continued improvement from. When you have a young core like the Red Sox do, it's sometimes hard to predict the leap that a player can make from season to season. For example, Wilyer Abreu is always somebody who pops into my mind. Can he eliminate some of his swing and miss stuff and be a consistent hitter? At times in his rookie year, he was one of the best hitters on the team, but he did tail off a little bit down the stretch. So I'm hoping that he can continue to grow at the plate. What kind of year will Tristan Casas have after coming off of an injury last season in which he missed 4 months with that left rib cage injury? I'm hoping that he's ready to go come opening day and that he can excel in the way that we saw in his rookie season. Heading into 2024, some people had predicted that Casas could hit between 35 to 40 homers. So he's going to try to live up to that in 2025. Then there's Cedar Rafaela, who's already an elite defender. I did a deep dive into him on yesterday's show and his growth plan going into the season, but he definitely has the athleticism to be a bigger factor on offense than he is right now. He'll have to cut down on his strikeouts. He just doesn't have the plate discipline right now. So the Red Sox are really hoping that he can take that leap and be a guy who can produce a little bit more offensively, because I definitely see the potential there with him. And I see him being a guy who could have a big season. But yeah, there's lots of guys that we're hoping can take a leap. I mean, Brian Bayo, can he carry over what we saw from him in the second half of the season last year? Because he had a rough first half. There's no denying that. But he came back in the second half and he was able to really dominate. So hopefully he can continue to grow and develop in the way the Red Sox are looking for him to, and that he can be a big positive factor heading into this upcoming season. This is a team with lots of opportunities and lots of guys to look out for and lots of guys who could occupy different roles and guys who could surprise us. So it should be a really exciting time to watch Red Sox baseball. And those are some big storylines to look for as we head into this season. And coming up, the Red Sox brought in a newbie yesterday, and I'm going to be talking about him next. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. My mom cannot stop raving about these things, and they are addicting. I don't really blame her. So if you go to the store next time, they come in these little black bags with green writing, and they're not really expensive at all. So you'll probably want to keep going back and buying more. But they are absolutely delicious if you like that flavoring, especially. So I highly recommend you going to your nearest grocery store right after you finish listening to this and buy some. Spring training is here. Congratulations on making it. And despite the fact that it's been a rough winter in New England, we finally have baseball to look forward to with it being back on our TVs. And the Red Sox are playing their first spring training game today against Northeastern, and I absolutely cannot wait. Lots of guys who I'm excited to see who hopefully will have breakthroughs going into 2025 and give us something to be excited about. But the Red Sox did make a move for some depth at the minor league level because pitcher Zach Penrod was experiencing elbow soreness on the final day of spring workouts. So the chances of him starting the season on time is questionable. He did have an MRI on the elbow, and the team is awaiting results and expects to know more at some point today, but they are just unsure whether he'll be good to go or not. He allowed 1 earned run over 4 innings across 7 appearances last season after signing with the Red Sox out of independent ball in 2023. So he did impress in his short stints with Boston, but the Red Sox wanted to make sure that they covered their ground. And unlike last season, the Red Sox do have more left-handed bullpen depth now, having added Aroldis Chapman and Justin Wilson in the offseason, in addition to returning lefty Brennan Bernardino. But in the wake of the Penrod news, the Red Sox immediately responded. And on the same day that this news all came out, they brought in veteran Matt Moore, who is a left-handed pitcher and is on a minor league deal with an invite to big league camp. So they worked pretty fast on this. He's 35 years old and was once a top pitching prospect for Tampa Bay and a key piece of the Rays rotation from 2011 to 2013 before he had Tommy John surgery in 2014. He never regained the same form, but has managed to remain in the league for the last 10 years in various roles, having pitched strictly out of the bullpen since 2022. He did have a rough season with the Angels last year, posting a 5.08 ERA in 51 appearances, but a rough pair of outings in which he allowed 9 earned runs in 1 inning of work ended up skewing his overall numbers, so it wasn't as bad of a consistency thing as you think. Subtracting those 2 appearances from his stat line, he posted a 3.04 ERA over 49 appearances. But one more thing to be concerned about is that he did see his fastball velocity dip from 94 miles an hour to 92.7 from 2023 to 2024. And his strikeout rate also plummeted to 19.5% last year after a 27% rate in 2022 to 23. So there are definitely some things to be concerned about with him. He's a guy who the Red Sox kind of brought in as a depth move, a guy that they're hoping can provide some value out of the bullpen. Or if he is unable to pitch well during camp, then he just doesn't break camp and it just is what it is. So they're hoping that they got a guy who is going to be able to come in and kind of play a role of not pitching in high leverage situations, because they do have guys that they feel can pitch in those spots, but he's rather a guy who they feel confident can give them some productivity in the lower leverage situations, or at least to provide some innings and rest some of the more high leverage guys when it's not a close game. He did once rank among the game's top 3 prospects alongside Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, but he ended up having Tommy John surgery in 2014 and never got back on track after that. He got back up to 198 innings of 4.08 ERA ball in 2016, but wasn't the borderline ace caliber pitcher he looked to be when first breaking into the majors. So the interesting thing about this is I don't think the Red Sox really thought a lot about it because they know they have their lefties in Chapman and Wilson and also obviously Bernardino. But because of the fact that they felt like Zach Penrod was somebody that they saw being a key contributor going into this season. They felt like they had to do their due diligence and bring somebody in that can at least provide some value in that regard as a backup option, if anything. So if he doesn't break camp, he doesn't break camp, but we'll have to see how he pitches throughout the course of Red Sox spring training. They did work fast on this deal, which I was very impressed about. And I have to say, Kirk Breslow, props to him for showing urgency this offseason and actually living up to his word of wanting to acquire key pieces that'll help this team to succeed. So I'm definitely really excited to see what the Red Sox can do throughout the course of this spring and heading into the season. Pay attention to some of the younger guys, see how they continue to improve and develop. And I'm just really excited to see some guys reach their full potential and contribute to a team that we hope to see make the playoffs in 2025, because as long as they stay healthy, I truly do feel like they have the talent to be able to be a playoff team, no doubt. So definitely looking forward to seeing how things go. I appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. You can next check out Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, who will keep you up to date on all things going on around the league. So if you're interested in hearing about other teams, check out his show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.